quite a change of pace now. Over on Netflix, arriving on Wednesday the 7th of August, we have dating show Love is Blind UK. And here's a clip.
Gentlemen, hello! Welcome to the experiment that seeks to answer one very simple question. Is love blind?
I'll rate that.
Ladies, you will choose someone to marry without ever seeing them.
Yeah, so I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Ian, but I think there's 10 episodes in this, I think. And this is the UK version of the show, so some people might be aware of it, or if you look it up, you'll see that this isn't its first outing, but it's Emma and Matt Willis's baby, because they say they binge watched the whole of this kind of this is a global dating show, and they kind of binge watched it all and got massively hooked, and I can see why. But when I first watched it, I thought, well, what was the difference between this and Married at First Sight? Because essentially it says it in the title, Love is Blind. So if there are these pods, and the people are put into the pods, but they can't see each other, they can only hear each other's voices. And so I suppose it's like speed dating. I think they have a very small amount of time, like 15 minutes, something like that, at the very beginning, to kind of find out whether they like the sound of that person's voice, whether they're interesting, and then they kind of whittle it down to people that they have real interest with. And it's only when they get engaged do they then meet each other. But of course, is love really blind? Do you really fall in love with someone's voice and what they're saying? Or when you see somebody, are you still physically attracted, or are they not really all they seem? And a bit like Married at First Sight, of course, beauty is only skin deep, as we all well know, and also you just don't really know the person. How can you possibly know the person, even in this situation where some of the couples were spending hours in the pod together before they met each other? You're still not enough time to really know somebody and know them well enough to marry them, I would argue. But of course, it makes for great television, and indeed it really does. I mean, I'm a fan of Matt and Emma Willis, and I think that they, as a duo, they work really, really well. They haven't shied away from their own troubles, so it feels quite honest and true from them as well. And they gel quite well together, I think, on the show. I mean, there's lots of tears, there's tantrums, there is the, because somebody might fancy the same person as somebody else. So, they've got it's quite gritty in places. It can be quite nasty in places. It brings out the worst in human nature in places. But of course, I go back to it, this makes great TV. And of course it does. So, it's no wonder that this has been a success globally. I'm sure it will be a success here, because it although it's very similar to Married at First Sight, which I know Ian, you and I are both fans of. It's just slightly different, but it feeds to that same kind of interest that we have, and just seeing people sort of laid bare. I mean, they're all people that have been on dating apps and haven't had any success with them, and just want to try something different. I mean, it's a social experiment, really, is what it is. And you're a fly on the wall, and you come for the ride. So it's a Netflix production. It's good. It's got Love Island vibes a little bit about it in places, I think. So it's kind of all reality shows in this vein, kind of souped up into this. So I think people will like it. Did you like it, Ian? I think you probably did.
Yeah, I didn't think I would, even though I am a Married at First Sight addict. But yeah, it's a good format, isn't it? But cast your mind back, to when I was a young lad, and of course, Blind Date, the original dating show, when three people lined up behind a screen and answered questions such as, if you were a piece of fruit, what would you be and why? And that goes to number one. So obviously they spent quite a lot more on this. Emma Willis, she's such a natural, isn't she, as a TV presenter? She's made a brilliant career change. And Matt is fine in this, I think, as well. And yeah, they've kind of reversed Married at First Sight in that they do get to know each other first, but in these pods, so they're talking sort of through a wall to each other. and then they meet. Whereas, of course, Married at First Sight is you meet the person on the wedding day and then you get to know them. The essence, the enjoyment, I think, of shows like this is you decide who you hate, who you love, who you think should be together, and who you think shouldn't be together. And already I decided who I hate. There's one very annoying woman who is extremely overexcited all the time. It's a good format. What I would say is, I mean, the premise allegedly is they want to find out if love is blind. Well, that's not, they don't really. But I think it would have been more interesting if they've just got lots of really good-looking people, basically, which I think they might have missed a trick there. I think they should have mixed it up a bit, They're all really good-looking. They're all too good-looking. But
Yes, you're so right.
it's obviously a very successful format because I also had a quick look at the American version on Netflix. There's a Mexican version on Netflix. So obviously this is just something that has really landed and is just being, remade all around the globe. So, yeah, it's good fun. If you like things like MAFSA and, Blind Date, for those who remember it, you're going to like this.